worry-free driving school. On this video, we will look at the show me, tell me part of the driving test and what it will look like from the 4th of December 2017. At the beginning of the test, the examiner will ask one tell me question. Tell me how you check that the brakes are working before starting a journey. You would explain that when you touch the brakes, they should not feel spongy or slack. Brakes should be tested as you set off. The vehicle should not pull to one side. Tell me where you'd find the information for the recommended tyre pressures for this car and how tyre pressures should be checked. You would explain that you would find the information in the manufacturer's guide. You would use a reliable pressure gauge, check and adjust pressures when tyres are cold, and that you would not forget to check the spare tyre and refit the valve caps. Tell me how you make sure your head restraint is correctly adjusted so it provides the best protection in the event of a crash. You would explain that the head restraint should be adjusted so that the rigid part is at least as high as the eye or top of the ears and as close to the back of the head as possible. Tell me how you check the tyres to ensure that they have sufficient tread depth and that their general condition is safe to use on the road. You would explain that the tyres should not have any cuts or bulges and should have 1.6 millimeters of tread depth across the central 3/4 of the breadth of the tyre and around the entire outer circumference. Tell me how you check that the headlights and taillights are working. Explain that you would operate the switch, turn on the ignition if necessary, then walk around the vehicle. Tell me how you'd know if there was a problem with your anti-lock braking system. Explain that the ABS warning light should illuminate if there is a fault with the anti-lock braking system. Tell me how you check the direction indicators are working. Explain that you would operate the switch, turn on the ignition if necessary, then walk around the vehicle. Tell me how you check the brake lights are working on this car. Explain that you would operate the brake pedal and make use of reflections in windows or doors or ask someone to help. Tell me how you check the power assisted steering is working before starting a journey. Explain that the steering wheel should not feel heavy. You can make 2 checks. Check 1. Apply gentle pressure on the steering wheel while starting the engine. Check 2. Turning the steering wheel as you move away. Tell me how you'd switch on the rear fog lights and explain when you would use them. Explain that you would operate the switch, turn on dipped headlights and ignition if necessary, and you would use them when visibility is reduced to less than 100 meters. Tell me how you'd switch your headlight from dipped to main beam and explain how you'd know the main beam is on. Explain that you would operate the switch with ignition or engine on if necessary and that you would check the main beam warning light, which is a blue light. Tell me how you'd check that the engine has sufficient oil. Explain that you would open the bonnet, take out the dipstick, wipe it, dip it back in and take it back out, and then you would check the levels between the minimum and maximum markers. Tell me how you check that the engine has sufficient engine coolant. Explain that you would open the bonnet, check the levels between the minimum and maximum markers. Tell me how you check that you have a safe level of hydraulic brake fluid. Explain that you would open the bonnet and check the levels between the minimum and maximum markers. Whilst you are driving, the examiner will ask you one of these show me questions. When it is safe to do so, show me how. Switch on your dipped headlight. Wash and clean the rear windscreen. Wash and clean the front windscreen. Demist the front windscreen. Set the rear demister. Operate the horn. Open and close the side window. This is the end of the Show Me Tell Me video. Check out our other videos on our YouTube channel. You may be asked to complete an emergency stop. If so, to simulate an emergency, your examiner will raise his or her hand and call out, "Stop." You must stop promptly and safely. You will be asked to carry out one of the following reversing manoeuvres: parallel parking, pull over on the right, or bay parking. Parallel parking. The pink car will pull up next to the blue car and reverse back and parallel park behind it, finishing within 2 car lengths. Pulling over on the right. The blue car will signal when it finds somewhere safe and convenient to pull over on the right. Once the car has pulled over on the right, it will reverse back for 2 car lengths. When it is safe, the blue car will signal and then move away, rejoining traffic on the left-hand side of the road. Bay parking. You will be asked to bay park in one of 2 ways. Either reversing into a parking bay and then driving forwards out, or driving forwards into a parking bay and then reversing out. Whilst you are driving, the examiner will ask you one of these show me questions. When it is safe to do so, show me how. Switch on your dipped headlight. Wash and clean the rear windscreen. Wash and clean the front windscreen. Demist the front windscreen. Set the rear demister. Operate the horn. Open and close the side window. At the end of the test, the examiner will give you your result. You will fail if you receive 1 or more serious or dangerous faults, or more than 15 driving faults. We hope you found this video helpful. Feel free to contact us if you have any questions.